So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome and welcome back here at BSN Network. Hey, welcome back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, November 5th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully you did as well. It is in fact Thursday, November 5th. 1 day away from our Football Friday tomorrow. Tonight kicks off week 9 of the NFL season. Should be very, very, very fun to watch. Should be a good game. Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. Should be a good game. I'm excited to watch it. Hopefully you are as well. We got a lot of stuff to talk to in that game. Obviously, I'll do my keys to the game. Do it every Thursday. Since that's really the only game that's on, I do it every Thursday. Do my keys to the game. Give you keys on offense, keys on defense for both teams. And give you my pick, and then I will give you fantasy and also college. So like I kind of just said, here are the topics today for today's podcast. We got Thursday night football game, Packers, Niners, obviously, like you all know. Then we got fantasy football, tell you who you could start, who you shouldn't, questionables, kind of that kind of thing, questionable players that are players that could be questionable, kind of that kind of stuff, the usual. And then we'll cap it off with college football. There were some games on yesterday. There were some college games on yesterday. There was actually some pretty good games. Central Michigan was actually a very good game. Northern Illinois, which I watched the majority of the night, was an absolute blowout. But I did turn on the Central Michigan game later. So today looks like today we got a couple games. We got Utah State, Nevada on FS1. That starts at 7. So I might watch that before the Thursday night game because that game comes on at 7, and then you have an hour before the Thursday night game, and then watch the Thursday night game that comes on at 8. Then you have Wyoming, Colorado State, San Jose State, San Diego State. That's tomorrow. So you have 2 games on today. I'll watch Thursday night football, obviously, and then tomorrow you got the big games. Miami's on tomorrow. There's some other games on tomorrow as well. San Jose State, San Diego State, BYU. There's a couple good games on tomorrow as well. So, obviously, I'll watch Miami tomorrow. We'll preview that game then. So there's a couple college games on tonight, although I'll be watching Thursday Night Football. But it's going to be a good game tonight, I think, for Thursday Night Football. So, those are the topics. Thursday Night Football game. Talk all about it. Fantasy football. Give you who I think you should start. Ideally, if you have a Packer player, I would recommend it because not many of you probably have a Niner player. And if you do, he's probably hurt. A lot of people probably have Niners players that are hurt, whether that's George Kittle. I'm one of them. I put him on my IR spot, whether that's George Kittle, whether that's Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, whoever it is. You probably have, there are not many players out there that I'm going to recommend starting tonight for the San Francisco 49ers because they are mainly all backups and they are mainly players that usually don't play, so you can't expect maybe big games out of them. We'll get to that. But anyway, with all that being said, this is the BSN Arc podcast, and let's get right into it. So, tonight we got a very, very, very interesting game between the Green Bay Packers coming at 7.5-point favorites versus the San Francisco 49ers. The over-under for this game is 48.5. So, this game will kick off Week 9 of the 2020 NFL season. So, let me first just read you my standings for Week 9. So these are my standings at the moment, or my record at the moment for Week 9. Last week I had a 8-6 week. This week I'm obviously no wins yet. Right now I'm 3-5 overall in Thursday night games. So tonight I could be 4-5, tonight I could be 3-6, whatever. Week 9 I am obviously no wins, and at the moment I'm standing at 82-40. So it is impossible, mathematically impossible for me to hit 100 wins this week. If I get a 10-win, let's just say I get a 10-win week, like I did week 7, that would put me at 92, and that would put me in very good position. I would really have to have a really bad week in week 10 to put me in good position to reach 100 wins week 10, which then gives me 7 more weeks to possibly hit 120, 125. I don't want to also hit 100 losses either, but that might happen. if there's going to be 60 losses, I need 60 more wrong picks, which is actually going to be very difficult. I think I'll probably be in the 60 range of picks wrong, but overall, I'm 42 games above 500. So that's how I'm starting the week. 82-40, 42 games above 500. If I get like 10 wins this week, which is very reasonable. If I get about 10 this week, I'll be at 92. And then next week I would have to have a week like I did week 8, which wasn't the greatest week 8 to cross 100. So more than likely, week 10 will be my week. I would have to have 2 bad weeks in a row to not have week 10 be my week to hit 100 wins. So 82-40 right now going into tonight's game. Now, if you all know, tonight's game was actually, just want to tell you this. Tonight's game, there was a little bit of a concern around if it was going to play or not. As the San Francisco 49ers yesterday had a positive test. They actually, I'm pretty sure, 3 positive tests, including 1 being their very good receiver in Brandon Ayuk, and 2 others being very good players on the team. So they'll also be out for this game. So not just injuries, but also COVID cases have haunted this 49ers team. But the game is on for today, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The game is on for today. I did get a little concerned yesterday, hearing that there was chance that they wasn't going to be played. Because when you got a shutdown team facility a day before the game is, and you have a positive test, it's not the ideal situation. But luckily, with the protocols that are in place, they did in fact, are able to still play this game, and there was not an outbreak, which I was expecting. But you always have to be careful there. So the Niners come into this game, before I get into really the keys of the game and stuff and hone in on each team. The Niners come into this game really hurt. They come into this game already missing Nick Bosa, already missing Solomon Thomas, already missing guys like that. They've already came into this game missing some key players on not only the defense and the offense. If you all know, offensively, Raheem Mostert is out. George Kittle is out. There's arguably your 2 best offensive players. Jimmy Garoppolo out. Josh Wilson Jr., he's out. He's been playing good. He's out. So really what it comes down to tonight, Tevin Coleman out, Deebo Samuel out. It really is crazy. What it comes down to tonight is just you gotta make sure that your backups have to play well. I mean, there's not much else has to be said there. If the Niners want to win this game, if they want any chance to win this game, they have to have these veteran guys step up and make plays. And obviously involving Nick Mullins, he's going to have to go out and play a good game. I mean, I don't know if you're going to want to rely on the air game all that much, but you might have to rely on Nick. You might have to rely on his run game a lot more. I mean, you look at this defense, it is torn to shreds. I mean, you lost arguably the best defender in all the NFL in Nick Bosa. Sherman's been out. Your secondary is weak due to the injuries. Your defensive line is thin as paper due to the injuries. I mean, this is a Niners team that has been through everything. I mean, this should be called the San Francisco 2020. It's the truth. Because 2020 has been one heck of a year, and the Niners have had one heck of a year. 2020, there's been so many bad things that have went on, and the Niners, things just keep getting worse for them, if you know what I'm saying. 2020 has been up, high, low, 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 high, high. It's been everything. There's everything and nothing in 2020 surprises me at this point. If the Jets go on and win the Super Bowl, that doesn't surprise me because of 2020, if you know what I'm saying. But it's the truth, though. To get back onto the football standpoint of it, this is a 49ers team that is banged up. And they've been banged up since the first week. They've been banged up really the whole season. And, Garoppolo obviously had a high ankle. It might require surgery with him. You don't know. Kittle's obviously out the rest of the year unless if they make the playoffs, which who even knows if he'll even be with them in the playoffs, because he's got to recover. He's got to get back on the practice field. You can't just throw a guy in with a broken foot, just throw him back into play. So this is a Niners team that kind of just put it first is really, really thin all over the field. And on the other side of the football for the Green Bay Packers, they are thin in one particular position, and that is the running back. Their running back core right now is very thin. Jamal Williams is out. Aaron Jones has been out. He's questionable. Doesn't look like he's going to play. So your 2 best running backs right there are out. Pretty sure A.J. Dillon, I don't know if he's in or out. He might be out. They're down to almost their practice squad players. So rely big time tonight on Aaron Rodgers to be throwing the ball a lot, which will get into actually my next topic, to keys of the game, and it actually kind of connects to fantasy-wise. This is a Packers team tonight that's going to have to rely big time on the run game because their run game is so worn down. There's so many injuries there, and this is a defense that I think has to capitalize on this offensive, on these offensive injuries, because you obviously have all these offensive injuries. You have these star players like Jimmy Garoppolo. You have these, you got George Kittle who's out. You have Raheem Mostert who's out. You have all these players who are out. For this Packers defense, they're gonna have to step up and make the plays. Packers are particularly really, really injured at the running back position. So tonight, you're gonna see a lot of players that you might not know play in this game, which is kind of crazy, because for a game like this game would be very high stakes if all the players were healthy. But with all these injuries, you don't know how good this game's going to be. I mean, luckily, Aaron Rodgers has not gotten hit in the receiving core. The Niners have. So the Niners are really looking like the underdog here, clearly, and that will lead into my pick. I kind of just spoiled it, but that will lead into my pick later on. But it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, anything can happen, I guess you could say. I mean, at any given Sunday, I guess at this point today, it's at any given Thursday. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, with the Packers, run game is a big part of their game. If you take one asset of a run game's big. If you take that out of your game, that could completely change things. So, for the Niners, they're injured, but also the Packers are injured. So you got to look at it both sides. It's not like the Packers are full on healthy. Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, all of them. They have Rodgers and Devontae Adams, but the running back core is thin. So if I was the Niners, I would try to really force them into some running plays, because they don't have their best guys out there. So that's what I got for the kind of just the whole overview of this game. Now let's get into the keys of the game for the Packers and the Niners. So like I said, I always do this. Keys of the game for the Green Bay Packers, offensive defensively, and keys of the game for the San Francisco 49ers, offensive defensively. I usually just start with a team, so I'll just start with the Green Bay Packers. Keys of the game, we'll start off with offense, go to defense. Same thing with the Niners, offense and defense. So let's get into it. Keys of the game, offensively, for the Green Bay Packers. I just talked about it a lot. Just spent about 5, 6, 7 minutes talking about it. The Niners team is really banged up, and I've said this a couple times already today on the podcast. I think all of NFL fans can admit this is probably the most injured team in all the league right now. So what this Packers offense has to do, right? I say you got to rely big time on the passing game. And it's actually going to be funny, because the Niners is going to be the opposite of that. If I'm the Packers tonight, you got to rely big time on the passing game. Don't run the ball that much. I understand Aaron Jones is questionable with a calf, and if you're questionable, it's kind of 50-50. But for me, it's more 70-30 with Aaron Jones playing. I personally don't think he has any shot at playing. According to multiple sources here, it says that Aaron Jones, it says that Jones' calf is listed as questionable for Thursday game at San Francisco. Adam Schefter, ESPN reports, but it still doesn't look like he's going to play. It still doesn't. In fantasy, he's projected 0 points, which means he's probably not going to play. So you got to look at it, and you got to really look at it as, it's the truth. This is the Packers team. You have to rely on the passing game. You have to rely on the passing game. If you want to win this game against an injured team, the Niners are hurting in the injury game, and they're hurting in the secondary too. They are really, really, really hurting in the secondary. Also, that defensive line's been really hurting. Rodgers is going to have some time in the pocket. He's going to have time in the pocket to throw the ball. Get some deep ball throws, right? These backups are in. This is a Niners secondary that's weak. This is a Niners secondary that's very weak with all these injuries. This is a Niners defense that is paper thin. Don't rely on the run game, because the run game's your weakness tonight. You got to rely on the pass game if you want to win this game. When you have the run game, you've relied on the pass game. When you don't have the run game, you have to especially rely on the pass game, because another thing too is this is a Niners defense that, if they start to stop you, and there's a chance they start to pick up speed on offense. You gotta get some plays, right? And I want to see if Rodgers can air it out deep. We've seen it plenty of times to Devontae Adams. We've seen it plenty of the times to different players. We've seen it all over. Rodgers has done his whole career, not just this season. We've seen it a lot this season, but we've seen it spread across his whole career. I want to see that. Maybe run some trickery. This defense is really struggling. A lot of young guys, a lot of inexperience. Maybe run some trickery. Maybe do something with the running backs that will cause, the defense to be confused. Don't just run a straight up run play up the middle. That might not work due to your weakness at the running game. You're relying a lot on these third, fourth string running backs tonight to give you big carries. You can't do that. You can't run the ball more than 25 times tonight. And if you do, I don't think they win this game. You got to throw the ball a lot more tonight. You got to rely on Rodgers to use his arm. He's done his whole career. He's having a great season this season. Got to continue. Adams is having a big year this year. Find them too. Get Adams and Rodgers on the same page, and you'll be far gone with this game. That's how the Packers win if you do that on offense. You cannot rely on this run game big time. I know in the past they've relied on the run game. They've done a lot with the run game, but overall you cannot rely on this run game like that. You got to pass the ball a lot tonight. That is the key to the game for the Green Bay Packers on offense. Now let's get to the Packers defense keys to the game. Packers defense, keys to the game is pretty simple. Stop the offense, and you know what? Get Nick Mullins shaky early. Get him shaky early. Get him on his heels early. Get Nick Mullins, hit him early. Block him early. Maybe pick him off early. Get him on his heels. It's a good Packers defense that is not too injured on defense, but this is a good Packers defense that is definitely healthier than their offense. They're at the most full strength out of any team tonight is this defensive side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers. Get Nick Mullins on his heels. We've seen what happens with Nick Mullins. I've said this so many times. You saw it with the Eagles. The Eagles blitzed him hard, and when they blitz him, he makes bad throws. He off his back foot, throws it across the middle, up, pick. Off his back foot, throws it across the middle, up, pick. He's getting pressured out of the pocket. You get him out of the pocket, he ain't great. Get him out of the pocket, get him under pressure, you'll be good to go. You got to pressure Nick Mullins. Run a lot of blitzes at him. This receiving core is really thin. Make Nick Mullins throw the ball. Right? Run game, stop the run game. If you're stopping the run game, pretty much overall stop him on defense. And I know this might sound like a stupid key to the game because that's always what you want to do. But it's the truth. You got to stop him. If you stop him on the run game, then Nick Mullins starts throwing the ball a lot. Well, this is a receiving core that's really, really thin tonight. Stop this team. Stop Nick Mullins. Get him on his heels early. Get him shaky. That's also what the offense has got to do too. If you want to say key to the game on the offense, get open. Get in a lead early. Like I said with the Packers, get a turnover. Get a turnover or two early. First drive of the game, pick him off, take it back for a pick six. That will get him on his heels. Now maybe he gets nervous. Now he starts to force stuff, right? If he's struggling and he's starting to force stuff, that's too. Or if he's trying to play the safe game, you get to him, you sack him. Outside of this running core, because Jerick McKinnon is a pretty good running back. Outside of this running core, this receiving core is very weak. So force Nick Mullins into throws. Force him into bad throws. Because if you force a bad throw to a very good receiver, that very good receiver might make it look like a good throw. But if you force a bad throw to a receiver that has very little experience, not very good, right? If you force a bad throw like that, then, it's a different story. But overall, for the Green Bay Packers on the defensive side of the ball, you have to force Nick Mullins into mistakes, force him into if he throws to the secondary, because this secondary is very good. Jair Alexander, guys like that. This secondary is very, 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 very good and very, very healthy at the moment. So you force Nick Mullins into bad throws, you cover up this, you cover these, receivers very good. Nick Mullins has to start forcing stuff. You got yourself a win in the books. And this would be a big game for the Packers defense to bounce back. They let up all 4 touchdowns to Dalvin Cook last week, a ton of rushing yards, a ton of passing yards, right? They let up a lot. It was not a good look for that defense. That defense fell a lot in the power rankings. This team fell in the power rankings. Not a good look for the Green Bay Packers last week to lose like that. Not a good look for the offense to let up that many yards on both the run and pass game. Not a good look for a defense to let up 4 touchdowns to one guy. They have to bounce back tonight, and it starts with forcing Nick Mullins into mistakes because he makes them a lot. It's not that hard to force him into mistakes, and it's harder with a good receiving core. He doesn't have a good receiving core, so that makes it a lot easier. Force him into mistakes. That is your key. So the key for the offense for the Green Bay Packers is use the pass game. Throw it a lot. Pick on this secondary. Do that a lot. Don't rely on this weak run game right now. Don't rely on this injured run game. Don't rely on that. If Aaron Jones somehow plays, then okay. But if he doesn't play, Jamal Williams is already out, all those guys are out, you're relying on your third, fourth string guys. You got to rely on the pass game. And for the defense, you got to force Nick Mullins into some iffy throws, bad throws, because this secondary will win that battle. That's what I got for the Green Bay Packers keys of the game. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers keys to the game on offense. Okay, like I said, it's kind of the opposite, right? You have a key to the game for the Packers on offense. Well, the Niners defense will be the difference of that. So it's kind of the opposite. Keys to the game for the 49ers is you try to get, this is kind of a little bit different, but try to get the run game going, right? And I said this about the Packers defense. The run game is going to be their friend tonight. They're not going to want to throw the ball with Nick Mullins 40 times. They're not going to want to do that. They're going to try to get the run game going early. That's another thing, too. You got to stop the run game if you're the Green Bay Packers, because they're going to try to do that. So for the Niners, their key is you got rely on the run game big time, right? It's kind of the opposite with the Packers, but rely on the run game. I understand you don't have Raheem Mostert. I understand Tevin Coleman out. I understand Wilson's out. I understand that. You're down to Jerick McKinnon. But McKinnon is still a pretty good running back, and he can get you some good yards. What I am asking for this 49ers team to do today is if you want to win this game, got to get a steady run game going. Get a steady run game going. Get a couple good plays. If it's a 6-7 yard burst, that might get you help. You can't rely, and Kyle Shanahan will probably know this, right? And I know he's not watching this podcast, but, he's got to know this. Kyle Shanahan has to do this. He has to realize it's Nick Mullins. It's not Garoppolo. You can't throw the ball 35 times today with Nick Mullins against this healthy defense, against this secondary like the Green Bay Packers. You cannot do that. Rely on the run game. Hopefully, trust your offensive line up front. Your offensive line is really the only part of your team that doesn't have injuries. Trust your offensive line up front to block for you. You got a couple good guys. McGlinchey's a solid tackle. You got a couple good guys on that offensive line. Run it to the left, run it to the right, maybe even pound it up the middle. Rely on the run game. Use the run game. Utilize Jerick McKinnon tonight. You have not seen too much Jerick McKinnon this season because Wilson had a couple breakout games, and you obviously had Mostert, and then you obviously had Tevin Coleman. But what I want to say is you have to utilize the run game tonight. Nick Mullins cannot be throwing the ball 30 times tonight, and if he does, more than likely you're going to lose that game. You have to rely on the run game. Run it a lot. If the run game's getting stopped, well, that's the key for the Packers defense, because then you got to force Nick Mullins into some tough throws. You have to rely on the run game. The run game is your strength tonight, not the passing game. You're weak at receiver. You're weak at quarterback. Your run game, you actually have a solid backup in Jerick McKinnon that can get you some yards. Rely on the run game. Run it up the middle a lot. Even, like I said, maybe pitch it outside. Maybe with all these injured players, the Cowboys did this perfectly. They did it with a third-string quarterback, or with their third-string quarterback. The Cowboys did this with Ben DiNucci. They ran trickery. Do it tonight. You know what? Run trickery. You're 4-4. You're in a bad position. It's not looking good for you. I mean, I don't think anybody really expects them to have much of a success the rest of the way due to all these players that are out. Run some trickery, too. You know what? Put McKinnon out of the Wildcat. Do something cool, right? Do something cool. Don't just go out there and just do random, normal plays and cause mistakes. Go out there, do what the Cowboys did. Run trickeries, run some jet sweeps. Pitch the ball to McKinnon. McKinnon throws it back to a wide receiver. A receiver throws it deep to another guy, right? Do something like that. Don't just, maybe not just even run the ball. I just thought of this now. Do some trickery, right? You're heavily you're a 7.5 point underdogs. Not many people expect you to win. And also, you're injured. You don't have your best players, so you really can't play that good. You really can't play that normal of a game. You saw what the Cowboys did. They knew they were injured. They knew they did not have their best quarterback. They knew they were struggling, period. So they went out there, ran some trickery, and it worked for them. They obviously ended up losing, but those trickery plays did get them some good yards. Do that too. Run game and maybe run some trickery too. Try to trick this defense because it's gonna be bad if you just run normal plays. So run game, you gotta rely on that run game. I don't want to see Nick Mullins. Now, personally, I don't really care if Nick Mullins throws the ball 40 times because it's not my favorite team. But if I was a Niners fan, I would not want to see Nick Mullins throwing the ball 40 times. I would rather see them try to work the run game more. But that's my personal opinion. So those are the keys for the Niners offense. Now we go to the 49ers defense keys to the game. This one is pretty simple to me. It's not just because I did it for the Packers offense, but it stopped the passing game. You'll stop the run game. Now, I don't think this run game is going to have a great game. Aaron Jones plays, okay, that's a different story. But I don't think he's going to play tonight. Sources I trust, insiders say he's not playing tonight. Fantasy football says he's not playing tonight. People close to the Packers say he's not playing tonight. More than likely, Aaron Jones ain't playing tonight. If he does, then I'm wrong, and those sources are wrong as well. But to be honest, you're going to have no problem stopping the run game. Not saying that the Packers' run game is going to be horrible tonight. It's just not going to be Aaron Jones good. You're going to be able to stop the run game. You don't expect this run game to go off for 250 yards tonight and 4 touchdowns. Just don't expect that, okay? They're going to be bouncing a lot of running backs in and out. They're going to be using a lot of different running backs. They might have a lot of shotgun looks, which means you're going to have to really, really rely on stopping this pass game, because I said it before and I'm going to say it again. It's a Packers team that has a smart coach, a smart quarterback, a smart offense, and a smart franchise overall. They're going to know not to run the ball that much this game. They've been in these situations too much. Rodgers has been in the league too long to run the ball 30 times tonight. You're just not going to see that. It's not gonna happen. Rodgers is gonna throw the ball maybe 40 times tonight. And I'll tell you what, if the Niners want any shot at winning this game, they have to stop him in the secondary. Stop Adams. Eliminate him out of the game. I said this last week with the Panthers and Julio Jones, and they did not do that. They were able to stop Ridley, but they weren't able to stop Jones. Jones had a big week. You wanna win, you're gonna have to stop Adams. I don't know if they will because of how many injuries they had. That's the problem. They have so many injuries, you just don't know if that's gonna happen. So tonight, for the Green Bay Packers, is you have to make sure to, you have to really make sure, if you're the Niners, to stop this passing game. Don't worry about the run game. The run game isn't going to lose you the game. It's not going to be the run game. It's going to be the pass game that's going to lose you the game. That's what it's going to be if the Niners want to win this game. They have to stop the pass game. So keys for the Niners defensively is stop the pass game. Keys for the Niners offensively, so let's just look at the keys again. Offensively, it's rely big time on the run game, maybe run some trickery. Defensively, it is stop the pass game. Run game, you should have no problem with. And if they do, then that's bad. You should have no problem stopping the run game. Your real worry is stopping the passing game. And for the Packers, offensively, throw the ball a ton, right? Don't rely on the run game. Throw the ball a ton. Pick on the secondary, that kind of stuff. And for the defense, stop the run game. You stop the run game, that forces Nick Mullins into some more throws. That more than likely forces him into more mistakes. That's why that's a key to the game. So those are my 4 keys to the game, 2 for each, for offensively and defensively for tonight's NFC battle. So these are the spreads. So these are the injuries tonight. We got Aaron Jones, calf is questionable. David Bakhtiari, chest is questionable. Ronald Green, oblique is questionable. Wagner, knee is questionable. And then King, quadricep is out. Scott, shoulder is out. Redmond, shoulder out. Injuries for the Niners are even more potent. Tart, groin is questionable. James, ankle is questionable. He'll be probably a solid receiver tonight because of how many receivers they don't have. Flanagan, hamstring is out. Deebo Samuel, hamstring out. George Kittle, foot out. Jimmy Garoppolo, ankle out. Tevin Coleman, knee out. Just really is crazy. 5 real key players that are out tonight. Surprised this spread's only really 7.5, to be honest with you. These are kind of just some of the things right now. So it's a 5-2, 4-4 game tonight. So let's get into it. So points per game, Packers are 3rd, Niners are 15th in points per game. Points per game allowed, Niners are 10th, Packers are 20th. Packers allow about 26.7 points per game. Niners allow about 21.6 points per game. Total yards per game, Packers are 9th in the league with 394.6 per game. And the Niners are 12th in the league with 378.6. Pass yards per game, Packers are 9th in the league with 265.7. And the Niners are 251.6, 17th in the league. Rush yards per game, Packers are 9th in the league, 128.9. And the Niners are 127. They're 10th in the league. Yards per game allowed, Packers are 11th in the league with 246.6. And the Niners are 6th in the league with 314.6. So, obviously, yards per game, Niners obviously beat them in that category because they let up less yards there. So, It's going to be interesting. Cowboys are top 10 in points per game, total yards per game, pass yards per game, rush yards per game. So they're in top 10 in a lot of the major categories for offense. And that's really the thing. Their offense is potent. Their offense is really good. And Rodgers and Adams are really good. So stopping them is going to be difficult. That's why they have to stop the pass game. That's really the goal. But with this, how many injuries this Niners team has, it just doesn't seem possible to me. Prove me wrong. I've been wrong a lot. I've been wrong 5 times this season out of my 8 picks this season on Thursday Night Football. But I think tonight I'm feeling pretty confident about my pick tonight. So tonight's pick, I will go with the Green Bay Packers winning. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be 35-10. Green Bay Packers win. Okay, Packers defense is just too good for this stronghold 49ers offense with all these injuries. It's just too good. And the Niners, their defense, this passing game, it's just not going to be able to be stopped. And to be honest, there might be a rushing touchdown in there too late in the game. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, to be honest, this game's going to be a blowout. I think Rodgers throws 3 to 4 touchdowns, and I think Adams has maybe 2 himself. I just think this passing game is going to have a field day on this offense. Or this defense is really what I think. So, Packers win 35-10. Packers win 35-10. I have the Packers covering, and I take the under on the over-under of 40.5. So, that is my pick for tonight's game. So, that's my first pick of Week 9. Crazy. Next week, what's the next week's game? Ooh, Panthers-Buccaneers. That's not a great game. I could very well get back up to 500 here. So these are this week's game, in case you're wondering, just to kind of quickly run through them. We got tonight's game. Then Bears-Titans, Broncos-Falcons, Giants-Redskins, Lions-Vikings, Chiefs-Panthers, Ravens-Colts, Seahawks-Bills, Texans-Jaguars, Raiders-Chargers, Dolphins-Cardinals, Steelers-Cowboys, Buccaneers-Saints. And then the Jets-Patriots are on Monday night, obviously. Jets are only 7-point underdogs. That's actually not crazy. So yeah, that looks like that's tonight's matchup. Packers winning 35-10. I think they cover, and I take the under on the over-under 48.5. That is my pick. So that is the first pick of Week 9. Feels good. By the way, I found this earlier, and I kind of wanted to read this. This is tonight's projected starting lineup for the San Francisco 49ers. Nick Mullins, quarterback. Jerick McKinnon, running back. Tight end, Ross Dwelly. Backup, obviously, behind Kittle. Fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. Left tackle, Justin Skule. Left guard, Laken Tomlinson. Center, Hronis Grasu. Right guard, Daniel Brunskill. Right tackle, Mike McGlinchey. Probably the best guy in that offensive line. Then your receivers, Richie James and Trent Taylor. And Richie James also is questionable. So I don't know his status for the game, but he is also questionable. So what are you going to have to go to? Like your 5th string at this point? I mean, if it could get any worse for this Niners team, it has. It really is crazy. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, so I've officially made a roster move. I officially moved George Kittle to my IR slot in fantasy. There's an IR spot we have in my league, so if a player's on the IR, you put him in there. You can't put anyone else there, only players that are IR. So I put Kittle there. It doesn't hurt my team. It doesn't help my team, really is what it does. It doesn't do anything, right? You might say, oh, well, might as well drop him. Well, I have an IR spot there, so might as well utilize it. And he's also going to be out for the rest of the season. And I was thinking maybe if there's a chance, if I drop him and someone else picks him up, put him on my IR spot, then how is that helping me? Because then they have him. He might not play the rest of the season, but you never know. If I make the playoffs and I'm, let's just say, in the championship game and he comes back, he might be my guy. So, you just got to watch out for that. That's why I'm putting him there in the IR spot. I haven't had to use it all season. That's what stinks too. This is the first time this season. Luckily, my fantasy team, knock on wood or knock on table, luckily my fantasy team this season has not suffered that many injuries. Outside of Kittle, there's been a couple games where they've been out, but no IR outside of Kittle. There's been some people in my league, even some people in my other league, their top players have been on IR. If they have McCaffrey or Eckler or Chubb or someone like that. Luckily, I've not been able to. Luckily, that has not. Last year, that was me. Last year, every week I had a new injury on my team. This year, though, my team has been pretty healthy so far. Although I do have 2 questionables in my lineup. You'll get a questionable here and there. But overall, I haven't had many players in both leagues miss significant amount of time outside of Kittle. Maybe miss a week, but that's not horrible. Kittle's going to miss the rest of the season. That's really my first crazy injury. But yeah, coming up next, we're going to talk about some fantasy football. Alrighty. Alright, so here we go. So fantasy football. Okay, anyway, so here we go. Some Belichick news, I'm not too sure what it was. But anyway, tonight I've got 2 players in one league, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and none in my other league. So I'm in a very interesting situation right now. I don't really know what to do in either of my leagues. I'm going to play Rodgers, obviously, but it stinks because in my other league, Aaron Rodgers is playing. He has Rodgers, my opponent, and I have Rodgers also. Now, luckily, all he has is Rodgers, so it's not like he has Rodgers and Adams. So if Adams gets a touchdown, then that's points for me, my other league, and also points for me. But it's, if Adams can get like 20 points and Rodgers can get 15, I'll be fine with that. I would rather watch Rodgers do good. But if you follow what I'm saying, luckily he doesn't either have Adams, or else if Adams scores, then that's also good for him. But yeah, so he has Rodgers as well. But I have Rodgers as well in my other league. So I'm going to read you the league that I have Rodgers in, since that's the league that I have the players in. As a matter of fact, there was some news on Kenyon Drake. Okay, yeah, Kenyon Drake wasn't spotted at Thursday's practice. Yeah, I'd assume that. Anyway, so today, this is my starting lineup for week 9 of the fantasy football season as well. Fantasy football season is winding down. We just have, after this week, I only have 4 more games left. After this week, you have week 10, week 11, week 12, and week 13. So after this week, I only have 4 games left. So definitely winding down the fantasy football season. But luckily in both leagues, one league, I don't know if I'm going to be in the playoffs. The other league, I'm feeling pretty confident about my chances. The league I'm about to read you, I'm feeling pretty confident about my chances in the playoffs just because of how the other players are doing and how my upcoming schedule is and how my teams are and the players they're playing. I feel pretty confident. But let me read you my lineup for the league I have Rodgers in. So I have Aaron Rodgers, obviously, like I said. I have Aaron Rodgers, Ezekiel, Chris Carson, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson. I picked up Rob Gronkowski off of waivers. I might stream tight ends. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do there. If he's playing good, I'll put him there. I'm going to try out a couple tight end combos, choices, things like that. Todd Gurley, Washington defense, Harrison Butker. And my bench will be Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Moore, David Johnson, Bills defense, Robert Woods, Matt Ryan, Rams defense, and my IR spot is George Kittle. So just some news here. Ezekiel Elliott is questionable. Doesn't look to be crazy severe. I'm actually not too sure what his injury is. I heard it was a hamstring, but I'm going to read you this news here. Head coach Mike McCarthy, this is Thursday, November 5th. This was today at 11:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so this was very recent. Head coach Mike McCarthy said Elliott hamstring would be limited in Thursday's practice, but the Cowboys expect the running back to be available for Sunday's game against the Steelers. John McCarthy of The Athletic reports. So that's coming straight from McCarthy, so that's good news for Elliott. Although, don't know if he's going to be limited in the game. Not too sure what's going to be the deal there. Like I said, it's only Thursday. You got time. So you got time to decide there. And Chris Carson also, which I'm actually not as optimistic about, but hopefully he does play. Carson, foot, didn't practice in Wednesday's practice. John Boyle of the Seattle official site reports. So we'll hear, I'm sure, about today's practice, if he practiced or not. I don't know if he's gonna play. I have that part of me that says yes, and I also have that part of me that says no. But either way, if he doesn't play, I do have a backup plan as well. So I already set that out. I already know if I have a backup plan out. If Elliott doesn't play, I also have a backup plan, but I would rather just one of them not play than both of them. I would rather none of them. I would rather both of them play. But I don't know if Carson's really gonna play. That just doesn't seem like something that could be possible. But he might. Like I said, it's Thursday. You got until Sunday. Keep your eyes out. I don't foresee anybody really having a running back tonight for the Packers or the Niners because of how hurt they are. So I'm assuming you're probably good to go there. Rodgers and Adams, definitely recommend lock in your lineup, start them. Chris Carson and Elliott. I'm giving Elliott about one more week to showcase. If he has a good week, I'm playing him. If he doesn't, I'm going to bench him. It's going to be interesting. Elliott, I have talked with many people this week in my league about trades. I have had talks about trading Elliott with some people in my league. It was kind of just couldn't come to an agreement on anything really yet. But I have had multiple conversations with Elliott in both of my leagues, but haven't officially came out with a deal yet. Personally, I don't know if I will. I've had a couple deals pop up. I've had about 2 or 3 offers that have popped up for Elliott in my league. Still kind of deciding on what I should do. But definitely I do know there are people interested in him. Other than that, my team's kind of untouchable. I am starting Allen Robinson this week. Ever since Foles has taken over at quarterback, he's had a solid couple weeks. 18, 16, 9, 5, 7, 14. So, and obviously he's got Sunday against Tennessee. Recommend playing Allen Robinson there. Tennessee secondary lets up a ton of points to receivers. Expecting a big week out of him. Playing Gronk. Going to be interesting to see what he does. Kind of want to see what he does. Has had 3 touchdowns, 3 straight weeks playing against New Orleans. Hopefully he gets targeted. That's Sunday Night Football. And Gurley and all that stuff. Kind of the other guys, they're just starting them because why not? And in my other league, this is my other league's lineup: Deshaun Watson, James Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, A.J. Brown, Washington defense, and Daniel Carlson. On my bench is Kenyon Drake, Antonio Gibson, Rams defense, Chris Godwin, Joe Burrow, Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds, I'm deciding what I should do. I heard a lot of people say start him. He's playing against Miami. I've got some time to think about it. I kind of want to start A.J. Brown. I like the favorable matchup. He's there in Chicago. I like that matchup. Neither team is overpowering. The defense up front for the Bears is very good. Secondary is pretty good as well, but I kind of want to look at the matchups there. And also, Edmonds is going against the strength of the Dolphins team is their defensive front, and I kind of want to see how he does. Too, and I want to see if they maybe pick on that, throw to, Hopkins a lot too. So you got to watch out there with the amount of playing time he could get. Hunter Henry, I'm giving him kind of a final week as well. I've had talks about him as well. He's been on the list of my players that I could possibly trade. Like I said, I usually do this every year. A lot of times before the playoffs when I'm trying to make that final push, I try to trade. I try to get players I might want. It's almost like a little bit of a deadline for me. I usually make like a deadline where I try to push it. Like, get this guy, try to go all in, get a player that really could propel me. Because about right here, for both leagues, I'm about right here. And, I need to be about here. So, something that would really push me up there is a possible trade. Whether that's Elliott in my one league, whether that's Henry in my other league, something like that. So, just keep your eyes out on that. I'll tell you, obviously, if I do make a trade. Watson, I like him against Jacksonville, not a great defense. Same thing with Robinson against Houston. I like him there as well. And as for my other league, my other league is the same. Rodgers and Adams, I think, probably will have pretty good games. So that's kind of the deal there. It's kind of the gist of things for fantasy football. And now we move on to the college games yesterday. There are some college games on today. I'll predict them for you. So today we got okay. So last night's game, we'll talk about them. Last night's game, we got Toledo, Bowling Green. Toledo won 38-3. Central Michigan, Ohio. This was a good game. I ended up switching to this game. Central Michigan won 30-27. Buffalo, Northern Illinois. Buffalo won 49-30. Western Michigan, Akron, Western Michigan blew them out 58-13. Kent State, Eastern Michigan. Kent State won 27-23. And Miami, Ohio, Ball State, Miami, Ohio won. So upcoming today are 2 games today. Utah State, Nevada. Nevada comes in 2-0. Utah State 0-2. I give Nevada the win. This is on 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1. And then the second game on 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Wyoming 1-1. Colorado State 0-1. Give Wyoming the win there. And then tomorrow you have games on as well. And then this is kind of just the weekend of football. So we got Miami, North Carolina State tomorrow. Clemson, Notre Dame. Hold on a second. That was weird. Never mind. So today, all games FBS. So then, my teams. Okay, anyway, so we got Miami, North Carolina State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Colorado, UCLA, BYU, Boise State, Arizona State, USC, Liberty, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Indiana, SMU, Temple, Texas, West Virginia, Marshall, UMass, Georgia, Florida, Houston, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Baylor, Iowa State, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Rutgers, Ohio State, Oregon, Stanford, and then Coastal Carolina, South Alabama. So that's kind of your games there. So Miami obviously plays tomorrow. Miami game tomorrow is gonna be good. I mean, we gotta win that game. And I've said this so many times about Miami is, if we wanna have some sort of shot at maybe the playoff, or even to finish within the top 7 or something, you might need a shake up, and we have that this week. Notre Dame, Clemson. If Notre Dame loses and gets blown out, you might see them bump back about 2 or 3 spots. And if Miami wins and maybe get one other upset, Miami might squeak in. Not to the playoff, but squeak in there. What do we have? 40, I can't even see. 45, I think. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so that's just something you got to watch out for, right? If Miami barely squeaks in, you're gonna have to watch out. If Miami just gets in, or whatever. I'm hopeful that Miami's gonna win tomorrow, but there's always that thing with Miami is you just don't even know. This team has a lot of different players. There's so many changes that have went over with this team. You just don't know. I mean, this is Miami's upcoming schedule. I mean, they got some winnable games coming up. They got Miami, North Carolina State. And you got North Carolina State. Then you got Virginia Tech. Then you got Georgia Tech. And then you got Wake Forest. And then you got North Carolina as a good team. But there's some of your games right there. So there's a big opportunity for Miami to pick up some wins here. And it starts tomorrow. That's the big thing. I don't want Miami to be looking ahead either. Next week's a very winnable game against Virginia Tech. Then you have a very winnable game against Wake Forest. You gotta have this team. That's where good coaching comes in. You gotta keep your team on track. You gotta keep your team focused, right? Because there's definitely some times where this team, you could definitely tell, struggle a little bit, and it might be because they're not completely focused. So this team's gotta focus, and go out there and play. Because North Carolina State, they can be a pretty good team. So you just gotta go out there and hope that they can pull off a victory. So on tomorrow's podcast, we got the usual game picks. We'll have my NFL game picks. We'll do who's going to win, who's going to lose, fantasy, preview the Giants. The Jets I won't do tomorrow. The Jets I'll obviously do on Monday. But yeah, that's kind of the keys. That's kind of this stuff tomorrow. And then obviously the college games tomorrow. Preview another big weekend of football. So that's kind of the gist of the pod tomorrow. Like I said, it's Football Friday. Every Friday I do those pods. And then soon, I'm not entirely sure when though, but soon I'll be talking about MLB free agency. As November is here. You got December around the corner. Winter meetings, free agency, hot stove time, kind of that stuff. Yankees possibly making moves. Some guys in the Yankees leaving. Some guys in the Yankees resigning. Yankees going for another pitcher. That kind of stuff. I don't know if one of these days I'm going to fit it into maybe a podcast where maybe maybe if I talk about football and fantasy in the same topic. So let's just say Monday, for example. That next Tuesday, that next day, I could do the Monday night game and a fantasy same topic. And then that leaves me that second topic to talk about free agency. And that third topic would leave me to talk about, more than likely college or something. But yeah, so tonight we got obviously the Green Bay game. So enjoy that. Like I said, just too many injuries, I think, on the Niners side of the ball. And there's a lot of football coming up. Like I said, November is the the big month for football. You get a lot of these big games. You get a lot in both leagues, actually, in both college and NFL. You get a lot of these good games and things like that. So that should be pretty good and pretty fun to watch. Football gets fun now. So it's October. If you lose a game, it might not mean that much. November, December. Now this time of year, you start losing games, you start winning games. That can mean a lot more than the first month of the season. So definitely going to be exciting. November football is obviously fun, and soon, now that the Pac-12 is back, you'll see some Pac-12. Stanford, Oregon is obviously the prime time game that night. I might actually watch that Clemson game. That Clemson game is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so football in both college and NFL is a lot of fun. So there's a lot of good sports. And also today, I know the NBA was going to be voting on the plan. I'm pretty sure they're going to approve it, the plan for the next season. So with all that being said, that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.